Seems Labour MP Jazz Athwal can't escape from scandals. He was in the news a while back after it was uncovered that he was the biggest landlord in Parliament, and it turned out that many of his tenants were living in poor conditions. Well, more has come to light about Athwal's properties, which hasn't been covered in the media that much, as another Labour MP, Mike Amesbury, took the spotlight after assaulting a constituent, and of course, the budget on Wednesday. Labour MP Jazz Athwal has faced fresh calls to resign after investigation finds that he is the landlord for a children's home with serious failures. An investigation published by The Londoner on the 27th of September found that the private children's home reportedly had several issues, including a child going missing from the home, furniture in poor condition, and a child reportedly being stabbed in the property. A September 2023 inspection of the home, which is run by Heartwood Care Group, found that it contained bare and uninviting rooms, furniture in poor condition, which posed a hazard, and windows in need of repair. He added that frequency of missing from home incidents was a cause for concern and that staff did not follow proper protocols when a child goes missing. The investigation also alleged that Jazz Athwal had a personal relationship with the owner of Heartwood Care Group, Dalji Jahal, with Jahal reportedly endorsing Athwal before the 2019 general election. The pair had also allegedly interacted in public Facebook posts on multiple occasions. This is really astonishing, again, barely picked up by the mainstream media. Samuel, this is a scandal that obviously means Athwal should resign or he should be suspended. I think he should have gone beforehand. But this is excusable, isn't it? Why hasn't Starmer taken any action?
Well, because Jazz is probably on the right of the party and is allied with Starmer on things. So I think that you're not going to see much action there. But I think it's more illustrative of a larger problem in Parliament with the amount of MPs that are landlords as well. I know in this case, obviously, it's related to the home, the children's home, but just the idea that so many MPs are landlords is, I think, quite troubling to me. I wasn't quite aware in the beginning when I got into politics about how many MPs were actually landlords. But I think that, the reason why you won't see any action from Keir Starmer on this is because it's the right of the party. They've shown time and time again its loyalty over doing the right thing. And in this case, I think all action should be taken against Jazz. I think that time and time again he's shown that he's putting profit over people. In a lot of these cases, that's what it is at the end of the day, isn't it? It's just the prioritization of profit over people.
I'm glad you brought up the landlords in Parliament. That is a big issue. Of course, you've got MPs voting on legislation. Famously, the Tories voted against legislation that should make properties, good enough for human living habitation. And look, most of us here on the left are against private landlords, but it is shocking that it's allowed. I mean, in this particular instance, these are services to take care of children. So not only is it wrong that a profit is being made off it, but in this case, they're being neglected. But it's easy to focus on the individual. But the bigger issue here is landlordism as a system, isn't it?
That's absolutely correct. And I think that we need serious reform in Parliament. I think this is the kind of thing that often gets discussed, but we never actually see any real movement on this to reform. And I'm sure there are smarter minds out there than me that can craft some kind of legislation and what that would look like. But I think it's clear for these reasons that we need to have a clear demarcation between the responsibilities of MPs in Parliament and what they're working on behalf of constituents and actually profiting over having lots of different businesses and properties all over the country. Yeah.
I mean, Keir Starmer, his campaign in the election was about, not being corrupt like the Tories. This is going to be a clean government. But ever since he's been elected, all we have seen is corruption. We've seen him taking on free clothing by Wahid Ali. He's taken, the party anyway, took £4 million from a hedge fund based in the Cayman Islands with investments in arms. in the oil industry. We're seeing Jazz Athwal being the biggest.
I
landlord in
also think
Parliament.
there was, in addition to the Taylor Swift tickets, we can't forget about the Taylor Swift tickets. That
True.
apparently, yeah,
The biggest issue here is obviously the Taylor Swift concerts, but from the small to the big, it has been pretty much scandal after scandal. I would call it corruption, but that's exactly what Starmer said he wanted to get rid of. To me, and I'm sure to you, it just looks like on policy, the Labour Party aren't that different to the Conservatives, but even the way they govern seems to be very similar.
I think that's quite right. And I think if you look back to even the beginning of Keir Starmer's tenure as Labour leader, I mean, if you were, paying close attention, I think there were many signs there that he wasn't going to lead as he was saying he was going to in terms of being disciplined and cleaning up politics. When he first came out, there was huge pressure, I remember at the time, for him to disclose his donor list. If you remember correctly, when he was running to be Labour leader, there was a very beautiful book that came through all Labour members' doors, and that cost a lot of money. It had Keir Starmer's face all over it, and encouraging Labour members to vote for him. And I think, look, these things cost money, and there was a real sense at the time that he should disclose his donor list, and he didn't. Right up until I think there was a deadline, and he did it just up until that deadline where people were actually already voting for their candidate. So yeah, I think there have been many signs that he wasn't going to clean up politics in the way that he said he would. And I think it's just a continuation of that. And if I'm being honest, not to be pessimistic, but I don't see real change coming from him in the sense that so far he's demonstrated that he hasn't.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the leaflet with his face
That's right.
over it.
That's right.
Yeah, integrity. He had three words. Can't remember. One of them was integrity. If anything, he's been nothing but a lack of integrity. I've not seen anything of the sort. You mentioned earlier about Jazz Athwal being on the right of the party. It's very true. It's every decision made in the party is factional. If this was a so-called left winger, even a soft left MP, and something like this happens, do you think the response would have been different?
I absolutely do. I mean, look, I was thinking the other day about the Rebecca Long Bailey pop scandal and how she was sort of taken out of the front view of Labour politics by Keir Starmer and his team. Look, I think that Keir Starmer, when we talk about Keir Starmer and his politics, he's very factional. And we know that if you are in line with his politics, you see a much more lenient way of dealing with controversies. And I think that, look, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with this story. When you talk about child neglect in particular, that is a very serious situation. So I would hope that, Keir Starmer and his team take this very seriously. But, when I look back and I think about how he's dealt with people who are aligned with him in the party, it doesn't fill me with so much hope.
I agree. And obviously, when you contrast that with, left MPs getting suspended and kicked on the party for wanting to scrap the two-child benefit cap, it's quite funny actually if you think about it. When you contrast that, you've got MPs being kicked out because they want to bring children out of poverty, and you've got someone like Jazz Athwal. He seems to be doing fine and dandy, and his properties seem to be neglecting children. Labour are not for the children, it seems.
Yeah, it's not optically. It's just not a good look.
Yeah,
and this has been talked about a lot online. It's that obviously traditionally Labour has been seen as the party of working class, and I know we'll get to the budget in a second, and maybe you could say there are some improvements in terms of real term increases in certain departments when it comes to education, for example, which is good. But I think the top line headline is that there are a lot of cuts, and we see a lot of the continuation of the austerity era in this budget when it comes to things like the two-child benefit cap. We've had countless child charity after child charity come and say, we need this thing to be scrapped, and this will make a huge dent in fixing child poverty. And we see that successive governments are just not willing, for whatever reason, to embrace that. So I think that, I think Labour Party is shooting itself in the foot in terms of not, these are quite easy things to uphold. The £3, like I said, we're going to get to these things, but the the £2 bus fare cap. That why are we tinkering? Why are we tinkering with that and not doing more for working people? So I think it's an own goal. You will
support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.